Hi, welcome to MediatorPodcast.com, a podcast and video series about all things mediation, negotiation, and collaboration. My name is Melissa Gragg, and I provide online valuation, divorce, and mediation services in St. Louis, Missouri. In this week's episode, we will discuss family mediation, a unique way to get divorced, with Daryl Weinman. She is a family law attorney and mediator in Austin, Texas. Daryl has been board certified in family law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization since 2000, an honor granted to less than 1% of Texas attorneys. She's also part of the Austin Bar Association in the Alternative Dispute Resolution section and the Texas Family Law Foundation. Another interesting thing is she's a member of American Academy of Certified Financial Litigators. I think that mediation is a lifelong learning process. I think that it's psychology. I think it's negotiation. I think that it's literally trying to figure out how to create two other humans to come up with the ideas that are in the mediator's head, right? You know, and it's super brainstorming, all of these good things. But as a mediator, I also think that we get some experience and we're like, I know how to do this. So what do you think is the importance of like continuing your education throughout this experience? And what are some, you know, you've been doing this for so long because Texas kind of forces you, right? But what do you think have been some of the best things that you've focused on and really honed as a skill set that has benefited you in mediation?
Well, what I like when I'm choosing a mediator, when I'm the attorney involved and I'm choosing a mediator, is I like mediators who have continued to litigate also because they've kept up with the way the judges are ruling at the courthouse. They keep up their continuing legal education as to what have been changes in the law, you know, statutes, case law, whatever, because that is really important. When you're working with people in mediation, you have to help them balance their risk. And so telling them, you know, I hear what you're saying, but the law is moving in a different direction right now. Like judges are not ruling that way anymore. Or this is, you know, changes in the tax law. You know, when we used to use alimony as a bargaining tool because it was a tax write-off, it's important for the mediator to know exactly when it started that, by the way, that doesn't exist anymore. You can't use that as a negotiation tool. So definitely knowing the changes to the law and how that has impacted this case, or knowing just the legal environment that they're in, the courthouse, the judges they're likely to be in front of, I think that's really important. And I mean, it adds so much value. What I've seen is sometimes when people go to a mediator that's not an attorney or has not been practicing for a long time, and they bring me the mediated settlement agreement and say, can you write this up as our final divorce decree? Well, yeah, but you forgot this issue and this issue you didn't talk about. And so the less educated mediators miss issues. And so they're not really done. And then I have to kind of send them back, and they have to keep, like, they thought they were done. But you forgot to ask who's going to cover health insurance and who's going to pay the other. And you forgot about, you know, they forget issues because it's just not something that they do every day. And so that's why I think it's really important, because you can't balance the risk if you don't know what the risk is.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to say that in an additional way is that to you know, I've told clients recently, I was like, okay, because with COVID and the pandemic, in some cases, waiting is okay for a client. Like, it's not going to get better. It's not going to get worse. Like, does it matter? You know, but I've said, listen, your spouse wants you to pay X amount of dollars. Let's just say $100, right? Just to settle the estate. Like, you've all split things, but there's an equalization of $100. If you go to court, the court is going to tell you that there's an equalization of $10,000. So in that case, the court is going to give you a worse decision And so it's better for you to settle in mediation. Now, if the reverse is true and your spouse wants $10,000 and the court is going to say 100, then it's in your best interest to take that issue, because we don't have to take all issues to court. We could settle 90% of them and take one issue to court or something like that. But it's understanding what the basis is, like what could happen in court, and is it better? Because we can guesstimate, right? We can't say what the court could do, but we could say best case, worst case. And if that's anywhere different than your best case, worst case in mediation, then I would typically say that that's a smarter way to go. But I agree, if you don't understand the court system and how it's changed, because even like right now, people are still like, well, I'll take one kid 1 year and you take the other kid the next year. And I was like, so that's not how that works anymore. And they're like, yeah, but this is what I mean. And this is like, people understand that that's not how it works, but they're still like, yeah, but that's what we're going to do. We're going to 1 year, 2 kids, 1 year, the other. And I was like, okay, but you can't sign away that. So whoever has the kids, the majority of the time and can prove it, can take that and use that kid, as a head of household or whatever, because a lot of times it's not even the exemptions anymore, So, I mean, I think it is educating them a little bit, because their first education is from their friends who got divorced.
Right.
And, there are times where somebody will say, well, I got 70% of the assets because they cheated on me. And I'm like, okay, what state? And they'll say the state. And I was like, not possible. Because
sometimes when you hit the person who cheated at the right time and they feel really guilty about it, they'll hand over 70% of the estate. I'm the one, I'm the money person, and I feel kind of bad that I did this and I'm walking out on her. I'll give her 70%. Okay. A court didn't do that. The law doesn't do that. That was by agreement. And but yes, it is a big problem. And it's not just the friends and family in their ear. They get on the internet and they start reading at people who have vented their stories and have all kinds, they read all kinds of things. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, it's a different state and it's different rules. Circumstances are different. I used to have these conversations when I did criminal way back. And they say the guy in the cell with me has the same charge, but he's getting a way better deal.
Why?
Okay, he doesn't have the same criminal history you have. So,
well, and that's the question. That's the question I'll ask them. I was like, so did a judge do that? And they're like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, probably not. I was like, again, that's the reason why you're in this process, is because in a mediation or collaborative or just getting doing it with your spouse, because there's a lot of people that can just figure it out. They don't have complex situations, but that's where you're going to create something that is unique to your family. I think also some of the times that we see in mediation is like, if you have separate assets, that you had prior to the marriage or something like that.